much experience that I learned from hearing you guys, from hearing Keith, that was just like, wow, okay, so there's a lot of good that can be done here. Let's figure this out together.
I think a prime example of that is the whole process of learning more about the how ACE scores can be used in bad ways, right? Because when we go talk to the baby docs, that was like the top of the list that you sent me. We're going to start with that, right? And that surprised a lot of people that it's actually going to be brought up at all.
Yeah.
Much less as the number one. Hey, if we get anything across to you at all, this is what we need to get across.
Mm-hmm.
We need to have a better understanding of when, if that's actually the cause, you still got to treat the pain and on and on and on. So you all have played a really key role into helping so many people get better care. Not that you were a bad doctor before.
But, I didn't know what I didn't know.
Right. Yeah.
And just to think about ACE scores, for example, because the whole issue was above my head. I mean, coming into it was like, oh, well, we're talking about risk of opioid abuse and overdose and things like that. And yes, that's not something to take lightly. We do want to understand risk and appropriately prescribe. But let's say just someone has just a history of SA, and that's the only thing that's being used against them to categorize them as being someone high risk. And now you don't have access to certain medication, perhaps the appropriate medication for your condition. And so the idea that now this prior perpetrator in your life has continued authority and preventing you from getting access to care blew my mind. But apparently that's something that continues to happen.
Yeah, because you've seen a lot of ladies took the time to send you long videos where they explained it. And it's harder for me to deny when I have somebody sitting right in front of me sharing their experience.
Mm-hmm.
And then it is just if you read it in an article or you read it in a study and stuff like that. So that's just some of the stuff that I think you guys have really educated me and Dr. Leek and each other as well as the community on. So thank you for doing that. Okay. We'll start with the big topic. I come to you, generic pain patient, and I'm like, Doc, I think I might like to, Texas offers the compassionate use program in Texas, which means I can get the Texas version of a med card. Do I come to you and say, hey, dude, I'm going to start sparking up every night. Is that going to be okay? or is
you're talking about me or the average pain doctor?
The average pain doctor.
Oh, okay.
Or is it more like, hey, I've been reading. There's a lot of really good research out there. Texas actually offers this now. If you are a chronic pain patient, you qualify. That qualifies you right there as being able to get into the compassionate use project, to have to use medical lettuce. So what do you think? I mean, because I get asked this a lot because they know that now I'm using it. Now it's been real successful for me.
Yeah.
And now more people are asking. So
yeah. Well, this idea of bringing it up to your pain doctor, I think, is what we're talking about first. How do you do it, right? Because it's obviously a very controversial topic. We can't even use the word on TikTok. So
yeah, exactly.
So right, and it's controversial on multiple levels: federal, state, local, various localities. But within society itself, we're talking. Pastors may have one approach to it. Families and generations may have different approaches to it. And so, how do I approach that? I guess number one. Well, I think in the pain community, growing up in my training, it also was sort of a split topic. We have some physicians say, well, there's no research to support it. And then other physicians will bring out their, binder of articles that say, no, look, it's all the CBD, and yeah, there's some THC. And can I say those?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, good. So, then there's the academic argument for it. And of course, there's plenty of literature to read. But there is this persistent sort of scientific, moral argument on either side of the fence. So yeah, I can see as a patient who doesn't want to burn any bridges with their pain doctor, might have some apprehension bringing that up.
Yeah. It's like me. this is how I do it with Dr. Leek, and I
Yeah.
do it with my PCP as well. It's always hypotheticals.
Say, doc, if I happen to smoke a lot of, you know what, this week,
Yeah, I think originally was what
would that be in violation of our pain contract?
It started way back. Hey doc, listen, I am going to take a trip, and I'm going to be in New York on Long Island for a week, and the people I'm going to be around use a lot of medical. I'm not going to use it myself, but I'm talking contact use. And you were like, I'll never forget. You better leave that house when they are. You better not come back peeing dirty. And I'm like, but I'm not going to use it. Oh, doesn't matter. So
I don't know that. I don't know that. Well, if it shows up on the urine, it really doesn't matter what your story is, because my auditors won't care what your story is.
No, they won't care, you know. So
yeah.
But so yeah, using the hypothetical, maybe not. That works for me sometimes, but
yeah, just kind of push the bound. You know, the first thing I would recommend is just sort of getting a sense on where your physician stands on the topic.
Right.
Right. I mean, if you go into their office and you see a bunch of shelves full of CBD products, like you do at mine,
yeah,
you probably have an idea that I'm probably cool with it.
Right.
You know, within a legal framework. Right. And that's the key. We all have to practice within a legal framework because, as they say, I'm too young to go to jail. So, but you know, even still, there are some physicians that just.
Sorry, I'm still losing it. You say I'm too young to go to jail. I'm sorry.
I think someone said I'm a millennial grandpa in the comments. That one stuck with. I like that one. It's the jacket and the mug. I know.
I think that's it.
I'm getting over a little upper respiratory, so bear with me. But yeah, you want to get a sense on where your doctor sits on the topic, because clearly, if I'm going to stereotype here. If they're, an older person and they're quite rigid in their behavior and how they practice medicine, maybe they're not the most open-minded to certain things, alternative treatments, marijuana. Oh, I almost said it.
Almost said it.
Lettuce included. Then, use your best judgment, or ask a little bit more delicately. But usually pain doctors that are more open-minded to that type of thing, you'll get that sense right away, I think.
Right.
Yeah.
Real quick, I want to call somebody out. Tracy said that I found myself teary-eyed when I leave my new caring doctor. So grateful. She said she stuck it out, and she now has a unicorn. And just so you know, Tracy, if you go back through my TikToks or my Instagram, you'll see me the day that I left his office the first time. And yeah, I'm right there with you. Anyway, sorry about that. I just wanted to make sure that we
Good stuff.
let her know. So when I come in and I'm kind of just asking questions, I'm like, I've been reading up. Texas changed the law on September 25, right? Where as a chronic pain patient, we now qualify.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not looking for necessarily the high out of it or the buzz out of it. But do you think it might help me take less meds? Because I've established with you and my PCP that I hate taking meds. I hate taking pain meds. And if I can, whatever I can do to take less, I'm going to do that. Right. And is that something, do you think, even obviously hardliners are, you could tell them, whatever you think is, and they're going to say no. But I'm looking at it, trying to sell my doctor down the idea. It's saying that maybe it'll help me go down on my opioids. Do you think that's a good way to approach it? Or I just want to try it to see what it's like? I mean,
yeah. So I think, with anything, we've talked about this several times before on the show, is to present your condition with a set of goals. What are you trying to accomplish? Right.
Right.
And in what way are you being limited? And how can the proposed treatment help you become unlimited and meet your goals? So yeah, marijuana. I said it. I'm gonna get a warning. This is gonna happen all night.
You won't. I will.
Oh yes, this isn't my account. Great,
No.
I can do whatever I want. So yeah, I mean, if lettuce is going to be a positive avenue to you getting from point A to point B, then sure, let's outline that process and get it done. Assuming it can be done in a legal and compliant framework. I'm going to keep coming back to that because I feel obligated in being in my position.
Right.
But Yeah, I mean, the same thing when we talk about opioids or any kind of treatment, whether it's a procedure or medication, or other type of alternative therapy, right? What is it that we're trying to accomplish? And if you sell it in that sort of perspective, then it can make a lot more sense. If all you do is you come in and you say, "Hey, I want this medication," and you don't really give me any reason why, chances are you're not going to be very successful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Forky brings up a really good point, that if you are thinking about going this route with your a med card, it's definitely more expensive than your $10 copay.
Yeah.
Because chances are your insurance isn't going to cover the appointment for the clinic that gets you approved for the med card, and it's definitely not going to cover it when you go to a compassionate use dispensary. It definitely won't cover that at all. In fact, you can't even, in some of them, you can't even use a debit card, right? Your credit card has to be cash. Or if that's a debit card, it gets routed as like a cash advance or some kind of funky thing because of the banking statutes, right? So, so you get your doctor, and let's kind of get past the hardliner, right? The immediate, absolutely not. You know, you'll shoot your eye out if you use medical cannabis or something like that. You get somebody in there, and they're somewhat, right? I think they're somewhat open to the idea. I think from my perspective, I got to educate myself on it. I need to know more about it than, no offense, I'm not going to say I know more about it than you as my doctor, right? I'm not going to say that, but I'm going to make sure I know more about it than you do.
Yes.
And I'm going to take that knowledge that I get and that you guys get from talking to other patients, talking to other invisibles, reading the right information. And y'all, Jamie is in here. If you have any questions, Jamie is a mountain of great information about this stuff. Send her a message. But I want to know, I want to take what I learned, apply it to me, how it can help me be better, and then find ways to get that information to you. Right? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
For me, it's, like I said, it's not a high, it's not a buzz that I'm after. It is taking less pain meds, right? It is. And as I posted earlier today on social media, it's worked. I know it's only one. I went from 5 to 4 pills, right?
What is that over a month?
Right. Well, it's 30 pills, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so it's less expensive because my insurance doesn't pay for my opioid pain meds at all. So it's less expensive. Plus, I don't have to, I hate taking them. So it helps puts me to sleep. I don't have to worry about taking that 5th one at night because my legs are hurting.
Well, the medications have side effects.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And what another benefit of all this that I think a lot of people against it don't get is that's 30 extra pills that my little bitty pharmacy has that's available to somebody else. And with the shortages, the manufacturing cuts, that could be a difference from somebody getting their script or not. Because if a pharmacy won't do a partial fill, well, if they're short 15 or 20, well, now there's 30 pills left in that bottle for somebody else to get their full script, right? And I think that is just an extra benefit. How many, just ballpark, I don't need no real numbers, about what percentage of your patients do you think are taking advantage of it or have decided not to try it? Or
it's a minority.
Is it? Do you think it's stigma attached, or they're afraid to ask? Or
yeah, I think there's two things. One is I think a lot of patients just have a general sense that the pain management community or the health community at large is anti lettuce. And so whether they see the CBD on my shelf or not, they may not understand what that is. If they've already kind of, if they've never stepped a foot into the world, they may not really understand what that is and, associate the things, understand and I don't introduce it to everybody either. Let's be fair.
Right.
But I do think there's a general lack of insight as to the potential of this treatment. And then this understanding that we're generally against it. And I would say that's probably true. For a large extent of the population in the medical world, certainly, pain management might be the major exception.
Right.
But again, most pain management doctors are not putting that out front because I don't want to say the mainstay, but the bread and butter is opioid therapy,
Yeah.
which is why we get a lot of referrals, right? No other doctor really wants to manage that. So that's sort of where we spend most of our time and energy in managing that. And typically, lettuce and opioids don't go together from a legal framework, right? Because both of those are managed by the DEA, a federal, governing body. And so, for me to maintain my compliance, I can't have patients doing both. Now, if you want to do lettuce, wherever you get it from, I'm not really going to care as long as I'm not prescribing you controlled substances. The moment we start prescribing controlled substances, well, now we have to follow a compliant path. And usually that's only done through CBD that does not contain THC or the compassionate use programs.
Right.
Yeah.
It's almost like, well, what you get, I can only speak for Texas. Texas compassionate use products are extremely weak overall to general. Like if you go to any state that where recreational use is allowed, you'll see a massive difference between what's available there and what the 2 or 3 different companies that own dispensaries here that are licensed here in Texas. So, but I lost my train of thought for a second.
But yeah, it is stronger what you can get through the state. So it doesn't qualify as hemp, right? So there's legal definitions. Yeah. Can I say hemp?
I think so. Yeah.
I mean, that's pretty straightforward.
That's pretty straightforward. Yeah.
I'm talking about a rope, people. So there's hemp, which basically is part of the cannabis that contains mostly CBD, and if it does contain THC, it's less than 0.3%. And then if it's not hemp, then it's the M word, and that falls underneath the Controlled Substance Act. Well, the stuff that you get through the state does qualify as medical M.
Yeah, it does. It's just really,
but it's not what you can get.
Oh,
yes.
Like I'm trying to think how we can do this.
They still keep the limits, the doses, low based on. So Texas may be different than New York or Colorado. Yeah.
Well, the way that mine is set up, my med card is set up is the doctor recommended doses, like 5 milligrams of this up to in the daytime to 25 at night, right? Or whatever I find works best.
Right.
Okay. That's just you can't take what works best every single night, because at least I can't, because I can't afford it.
Yeah.
$155 for a little bitty thing.
Jamie said a politician made up the 0.3% classification. That kind of reminds me of that Shane Gillis skit when they were meeting around the George Washington days, trying to come up with the legal age of consent. Who's the first person to name a number? Did you see that?
No, I haven't seen that.
Okay.
No, I'm going to have to go home and Google that tonight.
Yeah. Let's just throw a number out there and see if it sounds good.
Well, it's just politicians, man. It's just politicians. But we were talking right before we got started, and a lot of your stuff that you were researching on today, though, even if we get approved by our doctors, we're maybe running into some federal regulations that may come crashing down on states like Texas.
Well, everybody's been up in arms about what Texas has been doing, right? Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick and the controversies behind his motivations. And this isn't a political speech, but what happened was the state made the argument that, a lot of these packages were inconsistently labeled, resulting in some overdoses, even some deaths. A lot of the packages were marketed towards underage, consumers. And because of what happened with the 2018 Farm Bill, right? That was written to define essentially hemp and the M word. So before 2018, by the way, everything was illegal.
Yeah.
So we have come some ways, some distance in the positive direction, but 2018 pulled out Delta 9, and made that a considered to be a legal hemp product for consumers if it was less than 0.3. Well, over time, we found out different ways to get other versions of THC, right?
But
And
isn't that how it always works?
well,
Us
yeah,
us baddies are always one step ahead.
and that's how it will be for always. You know, the war on drugs is,
All right.
you know, we're getting political, but yes,
Yeah.
I mean,
Okay.
it
Anyway,
is
I'm
kind of
sorry.
funny.
Sorry to get you off there.
But yeah, so they define Delta 9, but there's also Delta 8, there's Delta 10, there's all kinds of different versions. THCA, THCP is another one. So, you know, that one's interesting because THCA, I believe, if you, what, it's not regulated, it's technically legal. You can distribute it, produce it, distribute it, sell it, consume it. But the moment you burn it, it turns into Delta 9.
Delta 9.
So, you know, these are all the little loopholes that were coming about. And there was also the dry weight loophole, of course. So the initial definition was, you know, has to be less than 0.3% THC by dry weight. Well, if you pack that into a heavy gummy, you can actually just put a lot more grams of the THC into the product. And then, or you just have bigger products.
Right.
And so, you know, there's always little workarounds that the politicians in 2018 did not have the foresight on. And so this is what sort of Texas was trying to combat against, because they saw that, well, the whole point of it was to keep dangerous drugs out of the hands of children, to bring some consistency for consumer protection, because there was a lot of labeling problems. And by the way, that's why we sell our own products, because we would have patients say, well, I got this from the smoke shop and it didn't say THC, but I'm testing positive and I swear I didn't do anything. Right. Well, okay. I mean, I believe you, but we're still stuck with this problem.
Right.
So you want to make sure your product is pure and trustworthy, and ours is third-party tested. I'm trying to sell all my stuff. Can you tell? Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
You know, somebody got me in trouble. I'm just starting this YouTube channel to sell my CBD products.
I've been accused of working for you to sell CBD products.
That's so funny. How much money have you made selling my CBD products? Go on record.
I don't know. For me to come out here, it's generally $45 for a tank of fuel. And then it's 2 Red Bulls, which is another $8 or $6 or $8.
Yeah.
And then it's a pack of cigarettes, so another $7. That's money. That's outgoing I put out.
Right.
There's nothing coming in.
No.
There's nothing coming in.
You make zero money. I'm actually a very selfish businessman. I'm not going to give you any of my CBD money.
No.
Which, by the way, is probably less than 0.03% of my entire income.
Yeah, exactly.
So no.
But it worked. I mean, it does work on my neuropathy on my feet.
Well, like I said, the reason I got it is because I couldn't tell my patients where to go get stuff. And so I have like 5 patients that come every month and like, I'm so glad you have this.
Yeah.
Like, all right, good. Unless somebody needs to buy it. But anyway, so that was the reason, you know, for that. And then this whole idea of just banning hallucinogenics, which, you know, the THC can be, you know, very psychoactive and give you the euphoria, and often, you know, the negative, what some people would call negative, others would call positive, but that's what the government is trying to clamp down on. Yeah. So, so that's what happened in Texas, and they pretty much banned all of the Delta 9 products and the THC products that are above 0.3%. And they took away the dry weight issue now.
Yeah.
So it's just impossible to get. Lest you be severely punished, I might add.
Yeah, the laws. I think somebody posted the other day the statute, and if you have get caught with 400 grams, that's up to a life sentence in the state of Texas. And I read that, and I ran to the bathroom because I've been trying all these different varieties from the dispensary to see which works, because there's so many of them out there, right? And I ended up real quick. I had 220 some odd grams at the house, and I'm like, holy crap! Yeah, and I'm halfway towards, thank God for the med card, right? Because if not, I could be in a world of hurt. But with that new farm, was it the new farm bill or was it part of the big beautiful bill?
Well, from what I've been reading, so the federal government last year already saw this. They said, hey, the 2018 farm bill is sort of out of date. It's no longer accomplishing what we set out to accomplish. And a lot of law enforcement, personnel expressed concerns also in the field, having difficulties identifying what is illegal and what is not. Right. And so they've updated it. Congress signed it in, and the president last year to take effect this November, which basically does what Texas already did.
Sit down, y'all, because this is federal. That's federal. That's not just Texas. This is federal, right? Where they're really going to clamp down.
Right. You know? So now the next question becomes enforcement. That's a big question mark, because we have so many states that have really let the cat out of the bag. So that's beyond my level of understanding. But as far as how we practice here, obviously we're relegated by the state. So
yeah, and I don't want to go into politics, but it's really what's causing it. That's what happened here, in my opinion. Our lieutenant governor was off. This is just my editorial here, y'all. This is not speaking for Dr. Leak or for the network or for anybody else. Just me. My opinion is he took a lot of money from the alcohol lobby, and then all of a sudden this bans got pushed through. And it's because nationwide alcohol sales are dipping while other things, recreational, is increasing, and they don't want that. The alcohol lobby doesn't want them. So regardless of how good the benefits are, but we're also, you and I both discovered another benefit of using lettuce. It's not just for pain. My blood pressure has dropped through the floor. I remember when I went and had my ESI done, when you stabbed me with that long needle in the middle of my back, my blood pressure was almost too high not to have it done.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And I was on my meds, my blood pressure meds that day.
Yeah.
I was like pushing probably like 160 was the high number. And now on a daily basis, it's like 119, 121 is as high as it will go. Maybe 130 if I'm like really stressed over something, to where I don't even need the BP meds anymore. Now, I'm not saying stop taking your blood pressure med. I'm not, y'all know me, I'm not a doctor, right? But at the same time, there could be other benefits that when you're talking to your doctor about it, hey, you always give me grief about my blood pressure being high. Maybe this will be another side effect that we can,
it has
investigate.
I mean, there's no doubt of its anti-anxiety effects. Certainly that can be said for CBD. I know some people, it kind of makes them paranoid, but that's another story. But yeah, no, CBD for sure, especially when included in these products, can be very anti-anxiety and just turning down the sympathetic nervous system, the fight or flight response, can have tremendous effects, because not only pain, but everything that circles pain and ramps that up over time, it feeds into itself. And so if you can find a way to break into that cycle, this could be one way to do that.
It really could. I think for me, when I say that it helps with my pain at night, it's that last pill that I'd always end up, my legs would I'd be hurting, which means I can't sleep. So I'd be up until 2:00 in the morning, and I would finally take that number 5, right? And that would finally take it down a little bit to allow me to fall asleep. Now at 9:30 on the nights that I do use my lettuce, I'll take that at 9:30, and then I'll dose my 4th dose of pain meds around 10:15, and then I'm in bed 12:30 at the latest.
Yeah,
at the latest. And just for the sleep alone, it's I'll take it. I mean, as a chronic pain patient, I can sleep 8 to 9 hours straight because through the night, which is something I haven't been able to do in years. Right. So,
that's great.
So somebody comes to their doctor, the first step is to feel them out. Right. If they have a lot of like leaf flowers hanging on the wall, you're probably in good shape.
Sign.
Right.
Good sign.
But if they're not, hypotheticals, what do you think about this? I've been reading about this, and we need to, I think as a patient, I would say try to phrase it to where it's not a yes or no question, right? Because we've talked about that in the past. No offense. I always say, make your doctor work for the money, make them work, because a yes or no, it's always easy to say no, right? But make them explain, right? Well, their reason behind the no. So ask thoughtful questions. You know, I've heard that this can help. I've heard that other patients has helped with blood pressure. I've heard with other patients they're getting sleep at night and I'm not getting sleep at night. I heard this. And what are your thoughts? And to you, doc, is it important? Do you count it as a win that I'm essentially replacing my last 1 or 2 pills at night with a dose of this? I see that as a win. What do you think? You know, and just try to feel them out. I got lucky with my PCP because I brought it up to them, and my PCP, they were great. They're like, if we kicked out everybody, all of our patients that tested positive for recreational, we'd have nobody in this office, you know? So, but, so they didn't care, but I could see a lot of doctors being really, really all or nothing. Either sure, go get that.
It's almost all or nothing,
you know?
Yeah. It's almost all or nothing. I mean, I would stay away from academia in this case. Nothing against academia, but they follow the rules and guidelines to a T. And the culture is usually pretty restrictive. And I can say that's true just with regard to any sort of alternative treatment, right? And again, that's not anything against academia, but if you want to work with somebody that is more comfortable or more free to or more liberated to think outside of the box, that has alternative ideas and ways of treating things, then the further into the country you get, the better, because I mean, those docs have nothing but whatever's around them and a little bit of hope.
Well, I think would another selling point be, listen, right now I'm at like 121 MME every day. And even though the 2016 guidelines were just guidelines, and even though that they've been thrown out, you know, that's well above the 90, right? If I can add this and it gets me to 90 or below 90, does that make it easier for the doctor in the long run? Do you understand my question? Because now you don't have the state going, why is this? We have all these patients that are above 90, right? Even though that's not a guide rule anymore, but even though it's still used,
it's more auditable, I think, if you're not a pain specialist. Okay, so
I'm just wondering if that would help convince a pain doctor, hey, if I can get down to 85 or even back down to 90 NME on opioids, does that help you any? Does that make sense to you?
That would be something to consider.
Because for me it does. Well, I was above, and now that I'm at 4 again, I'm dead on. Well, at least the calculator I use says I'm right at 90 now. So that I feel much better at. But that is just a self-imposed guideline on myself, y'all.
Anytime you can align your goals with the physician goals, it's going to be a win.
Yeah. And the physician's goal, if you're a pain doctor, is you don't
get you off meds.
is to get us off of meds.
Yeah.
Right. But then again, that plays into the bigger picture of why Invisible is so big and bad about people trying to investigate the med card, or people investigating Kratom, or people investigating talking to a dietitian, or talking to actually having a conversation with your physical therapist about the exercises working or not working and stuff. Because our goal is to take as less as we have to. And these things stacked up, without them, I'm still taking 5, right? And now I'm not. And so I think I don't think I'm the unicorn or unique that way. I think a lot of people that do get benefits from these things can take less opioids. And I think that's a good thing overall. Plus it frees up the rest of the supply for everybody else, you know, and
we know that's ever draining.
And it's always getting cut. So, so is anybody, did I miss questions about it? I haven't been able to keep up on the comments tonight because they've been kind of coming up.
I got something.
Okay.
So you brought up the concern that you might you brought up the hypothetical.
Okay.
What if I were to?
Yeah. What if one of your patients came in and said,
Yeah, I overheard this somewhere. I can't remember where. A friend of mine wanted to use marijuana. So, there again, I said it again. I'm sorry.
"You're fine."
So, but I'm obviously on the opioids. So how can that work, right? And again, as I mentioned earlier, these are two controlled substances, and so that would be a contraindication unless you go through a state program, a compassionate use program. Okay, well then we're in good shape. Why? Because I'm going to get drug tests. If we don't have a state sanctioned reason for you to have that in your urine, then we have a problem.
Then we have a problem.
We have a violation of the pain contract. And you have a problem, I have a problem, it's a problem.
Yeah.
So we don't want that. So what you got to do is go through the state. Now, you have to fill it through the state, and you have to pee it on my urine. And that's all I can tell.
Yeah. Excuse me. So
I'll let you color through the lines, but as long as I see it's been filled through the state.
Can I give the patient version? This is not speaking for Dr. Leak at all.
I'm speaking compliantly right now.
Right.
It's up to you.
I'm not speaking for any doctor on the planet. But if you have the card and you have the receipt where you went to the state's run or state sanctioned dispensary, and you go in and you do your monthly UA, you're going to pop for having that THC in your system, right? But it's not going to say
that you only used
that you pop for THC that was bought at the good store in, on South Campbell and Fort Worth, right? There's no determination where what caused you to pop came from. Does that make sense?
I can't tell.
And I'm not saying that you recommend that. I'm not saying that that's a gut. I'm just.
But if I see you pop it in urine and you didn't fill it, even if you had your card, then we still have a problem.
Right. And that's where you gotta make sure. I hope people understand that. So,
well, because I hear from patients, maybe you mentioned it a little bit earlier, that the state dosing is not exactly great.
Yeah, it's worse than ditchweed.
And it varies from state to state that you're in. And I'm not recommending that you go anywhere else. A lot of the stuff you get on the street is really not trustworthy. Let's be honest. I mean, I have literally zero experience with this, purchasing it myself. So I'm not the one. But from what I hear, you really can't, you can't always verify what you get from who knows where. And fentanyl being everywhere these days and everything getting traced and laced. I mean, I could tell you stories. I mean, I've known people in my life that have succumbed to this. So it is a real thing. But that being said, I can't stop you if you're growing it. Now, is it legal? That's between you and the state, but I'm out of that picture.
Yeah. I think, but stuff's been stepped on forever when you get it off the streets.
Right.
Off the here, I'll tell you it was a Judas Priest concert, and I'll never forget it in my life, but I can't share this on TikTok. My experience was stepped on, but this has been stepped on, I can guarantee you, since like 1981, 82, because that was a wild trip. But I guess what I'm trying to say is when you pop, the generic tests that are giving in, I want to say probably the majority offices, don't show what strain, don't show where it came from. It just shows that you popped, and that's it. So it's not recommended to go get your stuff other places, but at the same time,
I'm officially not recommending it.
Right.
But I'm also can't tell.
Can't tell. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I hope we made some sense through all that, avoiding all the legal loopholes and stuff like that.
Y'all are adults here.
Yeah, I know. So somebody said I didn't think Texas would even allow that. Yeah, Texas.
Well, they don't.
Yeah. So it's Texas is unique, but even though it's funny because everybody in Texas makes fun of people from Oklahoma. Oklahoma has better, more compassionate laws than Texas does. You can go to Oklahoma and get a visitor's med card. You don't have to be a resident of the state in Oklahoma to be able to purchase under a med card usage. It's so that's like tourism right there. you know. And Vegas and in Nevada, it's illegal except for Clark County, and that's where Las Vegas is. And the laws are different there, and you don't need a med card. You just show up with a driver's license and you can do whatever. The difference between the med card there at that time in Vegas was if you had the med card, you were allowed to have X amount more on you than you were if you didn't have a med card. It was like double the amount. But that was 2 years ago. Like you could have like 500 grams on you with a med card, and without the med card, it was like 200 grams.
Wow.
Right. So, but that was, we've been out of Vegas for going on 3 years. They may have changed that by now. So, did we confuse everybody on that, or does anybody have any questions we need to clear up? I guess, because I don't want to confuse people tonight, because I know you're not here to encourage people to try it. I am, though, as a patient.
Yeah, that's a great point you brought up there, Keith. I think there's no point in trying to encourage anybody to do one particular thing from a physician standpoint, because it may or may not be right for you as an individual.
Right.
And so, especially when we're getting on big, stages, group speak, general, considerations for the population, we can say, yeah, this has been shown to be effective or not effective in these studies or across this average, but everybody's different. And some people have very strong positive feelings toward lettuce. Some have very negative feelings toward it. The same thing is true with opioids or injections or stimulators. And yet, there's people that benefit and people that are harmed on both ends of the spectrum.
Right.
And so that's where my job comes in as a physician, to really get to know you as the individual, the patient, what you've been through, what your expectations are, what your goals are, what you've tried and worked and what didn't, so that we can come up with the best plan for you. And that may include this, it may not. But you know what? As someone who deals with something that's very difficult to treat, that being pain, I like to have as many options as possible.
Well, that's my take on it. The reason I encourage people is because I want people to try different things. And it's not because I'm anti-opioid. We've had this discussion till I'm blue in the face. I am dependent on opioids for quality of life. I still hate taking them, so I'm going to do whatever I can to take less of them.
Right.
Plus, it's the practical aspect of it. I've experienced the shortage. I've gone to the pharmacy where the partial is all I could get, or not even a partial, right? So what am I going to do if I can't get the meds that you're that we both agree I need? What am I going to use? Mm-hmm. Why am I'm going to be at a 10 plus without anything. So yeah, I want to try whatever I can get my grubby hands on to get that lower, with your agreement, because you're my pain doctor, right? I don't want to do anything illegal, but at the same time, I want to like create them, or even create them. Even if I needed to, I would try that, right? But I'm successful right now on the medical as well as the ketamine. To me, those have been two big time lifesavers.
Yeah,
and I know to y'all, it may not be that big of a deal to drop just one pill a day, but to me, you can ask my pain doctor. I've been trying to cut my dosage of pain meds for the last year and a half. I've been trying to go back to 10s. I've been trying to take less of an opioid almost every single day.
Right.
Just because I hate the leash. I hate the fact that I have to have them. And so this has been a godsend for me. This and the ketamine have really allowed me to, when I called the other day and was like, I think I just lost are we still live on TikTok? Because it's not showing.
It looks like it's live for me.
Okay, there it goes. It was weird. It was a weird screen. Anything I can do to take less meds, I'm going to do it. And that's why I encourage people to try this, to try that, try this, try that. That's why I did the ESI, which worked, right? That's why we're working to get another ESI eventually in my lumbar, right? Because I want to try that. Because I hate hurting and I hate taking meds. So I'm going to use whatever I can, you know? So if there's questions about that, let us know. Jennifer, Miss Juniper, if you're still here, I know you have a question about Suboxone. I have not forgotten. If you could type that out so we can get to that before I forget, I'd appreciate it. Because we have Doc here, so I want to make sure we could get that question asked. And if you guys have any other quick questions before we have to scoot, now's the time to type them in. Obviously, Doc is not your doctor, so he can't tell you what's going to be best for you, right? Because he's not your doctor. Here's a generic question. If you have a patient, somebody contacts you about coming to see you, about making an appointment, is there a distance limit for you? So let's say
Physically?
Yeah. So let's say that your office is here and the patient is in San Antonio.
I thought you meant
that like they live in San Antonio.
Okay. Yeah.
That would be 4 hours each way. Is that too far?
It depends. If I'm writing you opioids, that would be too far.
That would be too far.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I'm just wondering how doctors in general are. I mean, I know I'm pushing the limit because but as a crow flies, I'm a lot closer than what I am if you have to actually drive it.
Yeah. Right? You start to get flagged actually after about 45 miles, I think.
Really?
Yeah.
So I am that big of a problem.
I mean, it's not, you can have exceptions, but if you had patients coming to you from all over the state and there's a pattern that developed, you can rest assured that would be investigated.
All right. So Jennifer's question, I believe, if her doctor is offering Suboxone instead of let's say traditional opioid, Percocet, Oxy, whatever, because he has more flexibility. Does that make any sense to you?
Yeah.
And can you explain why that's more flexibility with Suboxone versus another Oxy or hydrocodone?
Two things. One is it's a Schedule 3 medication rather than a Schedule 2. And so it is just generally considered to be less risky from an addiction standpoint, but also from a regulatory standpoint. While I cannot speak to it personally, although it has been my experience, whenever we are audited as part of our routine inspections, buprenorphine patients never come up. And this is what I've heard from other providers as well, other physicians. So, but Schedule 2 medications, those are always the ones that come up. So that's the reason there, is just because you can much easier fly under the radar with an opioid type medication. Not that we're trying to conceal anything, but it's just, why does everything have to be auditable is the concern.
You're not technically concealing it. You're playing the game. You're playing by their rules.
It's just not as controlled. That's the bottom line. And by the way, hydrocodone used to be Schedule 3
really?
Several years back, and then they changed it to Schedule 2 to be more controlled. So yeah, I don't know, maybe buprenorphine will change. I don't know. I don't think it should, because the second reason is, if you are opioid dependent or opioid tolerant, you've already had a history of taking opioids, to be put onto buprenorphine, the risk of overdose is very small as compared to other types of opioids.
Really? Huh.
And the reason is in the pharmacology. It's a partial agonist at the opioid receptor. It's not a full agonist. And so the higher the dose, once all those receptors get saturated, then there's a ceiling effect. And you just can't have the same overdose complication as you would if you were taking a full agonist. And now, if you're naive to opioids, yes, you can still overdose on buprenorphine. So, don't take that the wrong way. But because of that mechanism, it's largely considered to be a much safer medication. And it's why we use it for those who are addicted to opioids, right? Forever, we used to have methadone be our primary form of treatment. Well, methadone is a full agonist, which means you can take a whole bunch and not come back.
Right.
But so what would happen is you come in every day, they put it on your tongue and let you go and see you the next morning, right? And that was the safe way to monitor those patients who lacked the control over that prescription. But with buprenorphine, we can give you a whole month supply, knowing that if you, even though you do have a history of not controlling this prescription, the chances of anything bad happening is very, very, very low. So that's why we generally prefer buprenorphine. I mean, it came out as a pain medicine. A lot of people say, "Oh, it doesn't do anything for my pain." Well, that might be for you. It actually does do quite a bit. That's why it was originally designed as a long-acting version of morphine, synthetic version.
I hear so many times.
Yeah.
I'm so many people, so many. Well, there's one major influencer who says it doesn't do anything for pain, but then I talk to people, and they're like, "Well, it helps me," And
Yeah.
now, but again, different things work for different people.
That's what it's all about. Yeah.
Right. Well, like I discovered the hard way that even the ways that you take it, like for me, ketamine in a capsule form was kind of there,
Mm-hmm.
but in a troch form where it dissolves under my tongue, man, it's night and day, the difference of how effective it is.
Yeah.
So, but for other people, under the tongue doesn't do much. They can just swallow it, and they get the same thing I get through, So everybody's body's different, right? And so Suboxone may not help me. It may not be right for me, but if it's right for you, go for it.
Well,
but another question before I forget.
Sure.
Do you think since it's a different schedule, that's why so many pain doctors, good, bad, unicorn or not, are wanting their patients on it? Now, I was wrong. Jennifer said her doc isn't pushing it. He's just kind of offering it.
Sure.
But do you think that's one reason the people in the pain management, doctors in the pain management field, are trying to shift people to that?
I mean, yes, I understand patients understand the risk that their doctor is taking for them, but I don't know that they understand really the risk that their doctor is taking for them. The amount of time it took to get here, and all the laws and checkboxes we have to pass. I mean, they're shutting down pain clinics all across the country all the time. They're putting away doctors in prison all the time, right? And I'm not saying it was unjust or whatever the case may be, but that's the paranoia. Patients have paranoia. Well, pain doctors have paranoia too. I can guarantee it. And so the idea of buprenorphine from a patient safety perspective, if we ignore just the individual and whether or not the medication works, okay, if we ignore those things, just from a regulatory perspective and a patient safety perspective, it is the ideal drug. And so those are the two biggest incentives. And then the other incentive is we can actually convert you to a monthly injection.
Really?
Which is not something that other opioids have available to us. So buprenorphine, it comes in the form of a product called Sublocade, and it's a once monthly injection. Put it in sort of the fat of your stomach, and it's set and forget.
Really? I said I didn't even know that was an option.
Yeah.
That was even out there.
Yeah. And it's designed for those who are opioid dependent or have a history of addiction, but you have a diagnosis of opioid dependence that qualifies. And if you're on high dose opioids and you can't get off of it, well, that qualifies. So
that's like the ultimate for me in laziness. I love that.
Yeah.
Because I'm not saying I want to change next week, but the idea, because I am horrendous about, I always write down when I take my meds, and it's so funny. Half the time I'll write down when I took it, and then I'll come back like an hour later and I'm like, why are my legs still killing me? It's taking forever, this stuff to work. And then I'll look on the counter, and there they are, sitting there on the counter.
Yeah.
Where I sat them to write down. I put them down so I could write down what time I was taking them, and then never get to take them. And that would just be so much easier if it's set it and forget it.
That's the positive. You don't have the pills to keep track of, the timer to keep track of. You can travel more freely. You're not watching the clock, so to speak. So all of that is super. You get more consistent serum levels of medication around the clock. So you're not wake up in the middle of the night in pain looking for your pill bottle.
Is it kind of like a fentanyl patch where it's more consistent flow? Because my concern is,
yes,
what if I overdo it? If I know I'm going to overdo it, I know to either prepare ahead of time, right? Does that make sense? If I know that I'm going to go move a stack of firewood, I'm going to take my meds, right? Because I know what's coming.
Right.
So does it is it, but I'm guessing that's just going to be a constant, same as you go across, and then maybe a breakthrough on top. Or?
Yeah, so that's the challenge with buprenorphine, especially at the doses that you would be on to qualify for the injection. Most of your, if not all of your opioid receptors are pretty much saturated. So even if you were to take another hydrocodone or an oxycodone, it probably is not going to do much. And that is the catch. If you're sort of, it's like smokers, right? The trouble isn't the nicotine as much as it is, what do I do with my hands now?
Yeah.
Right.
It's the fidget.
It's the fidget. It's, I'm in pain. Where's my pill bottle? I need to take a pill. So that whole action now is broken. And that can be some anxiety provoking for some people. Well, what do I do when it gets worse? When I do this or do that. So we do have to come up with another type of approach, whether, it's a muscle relaxer or nerve pain medicine or just Tylenol or something, put some ice on it, change your behavior in a sense so that, you can monitor it better. But
lettuce.
Maybe lettuce.
Yeah. I don't know. But if someone is Jennifer's next question was, follow-up question was, can you go on Suboxone for a while to get back to being more sensitive to traditional opioids? And then go back to, if Percocet's not working for you, go to Suboxone for 3 to 6 months.
Sure.
Get all that out of your system, and then go back. Would that maybe help the Percocet that you've been on for 10 years?
Yeah.
Would that break what's the tolerance zone, I guess?
Right. So the concept there you're asking about is something called opioid rotation. And that is something that we practice routinely every, let's say, 6 to 12 months, especially the younger you are, because your brain does get used to these medications. So by switching the opioid, it does target different, you have, several different types of opioid receptors, and one medication may, target a combination more so than a different combination of those same receptors. So by changing the opioid, whether it's from hydrocodone to oxycodone to morphine or to buprenorphine, then yes, you can keep things fresh, so to speak, and maintain the efficacy without increasing the daily MME. Now, that is a caveat though with buprenorphine. That's not a real great medication to rotate because of its partial agonism and its long effectiveness. You have to wait for it to get out of your system before it works. And then you have to, like, let's say you're on hydrocodone and you're switching to buprenorphine, you have to wait for hydrocodone to get out of your system completely before you start the buprenorphine. Otherwise, you'll be forced into a withdrawal syndrome. And that's just how the pharmacology of buprenorphine works. And that's unique to buprenorphine. With hydrocodone, oxycodone, morphine, fentanyl, all the rest of them, you can switch on a dime. With buprenorphine, you have to have like 2 days on either side, at least, where there's no meds taken.
Would you need to be stepped down? Because I've heard horror stories about people when they come off of Suboxone that it can be really bad. So do I guess if you're in a high enough dose, you'd have to be stepped down off the Suboxone.
Yeah.
And then get it out of your system and then go try
something
else.
When you're on a full dose of buprenorphine, the MMEs are actually quite high. I mean, in the hundreds.
Really?
Isn't that funny? So it's not the MMEs that are being governed as much as we think they are. It's the control, whether it's controlled or not. It's the risk of each individual medication. So, fentanyl can have a very low MME, but be very problematic. Whereas, buprenorphine can have a very high MME and be a Schedule 3, right? So because of the MME load, though, the risk of withdrawal is high. So if you were on a very high dose, let's say you're taking it sublingual and you stop like cold turkey, your withdrawal is going to be terrible. Yeah. You're going from 400 or 500 MME to 0 in 3 days.
Can imagine.
I don't want to be there.
God, I wouldn't want to be anywhere near that, to be honest with you.
So yeah, I definitely believe those stories. But what's nice about the injection, to sell the injection again, is once you've been on it for a while, it's been in your system and absorbing over the month after month after month, you can just one day stop the injection. And over the course of actually 6 to 9 months, you can still test positive for buprenorphine. Really? It takes that long to leach out of your system. So the landing coming off of the injection is so soft.
Well,
Yeah.
with that long of a period, how soon how long would you need to wait to go try a more, I would say, traditional opioid like Percocet or Oxy? Because if it's 6 months, you're still testing positive. If you take that Oxy, is it going to have any impact, or is it because it's low enough, I guess,
Yeah,
in the body?
it gets low. Within probably 3 to 5 days,
Okay.
You'll start to have receptors open up and be usable for other opioids. And yes, and just because it's still in your system doesn't necessarily mean it's actively at the receptor, blocking it, doing whatever it needs to do. It can just be floating around in the fatty tissue, metabolize, things of that nature, but enough to show that it's still in your system, being used on some level. Yeah.
Okay. Cool. See, I'm learning that so much more about Suboxone tonight. Thank you for the questions, Jennifer. I appreciate it.
Great question.
I didn't even know that there was like a thing that could stick in your belly.
As you can see, I can talk much more fluently about opioids than I do lettuce. Because that is what I've been trained in.
See, I credit Jamie for my med card. I do. Because I always sense this little bit of pushback from my pain doctor whenever I brought it up. And then Jamie sent my pain doctor a book.
Yes.
And then we had Jamie on a live.
Yep.
And we talked about it on a Thursday night, sitting at the table, right? And and ever since then, there was a slow morph. And it's probably just me. He's probably been my pain doctor has probably been great for every other patient except for me. And I was like, no to you, because you're Johnson. I'm not going to let you do it, But I credit Jamie in that book, I just want to try to always encourage people to do their own research and find to see if there's other things out there. My fear is that as the manufacturers are forced to cut production, we're going to have to find something. I refuse to live at a 10. I can't, because I don't leave the house. I don't leave the bed. And I worry about people. I actually lay in bed and I worry about people who, once they find a doctor where they can get an opioid, it's almost like giving up because they have it. I don't need to do anything anymore. Where people don't realize that they're hard with these production cuts, you're going to run into that, and just because we finally get relief here and it's working, that doesn't mean we should get, my personal thoughts is we shouldn't give up on trying to continue to get better with using whatever we can get our hands on legally, and with our doctors knowing what's going on. Right.
And, all of the controversy can be settled, I think, to a large extent when you show the result, because so much of this stuff is centered around negative media, right? How lettuce is portrayed in movies, how it's portrayed in, crime scenes and, and opioids too, right? So there's this huge negative impact. And if you are, the majority of the population that is fortunate enough to not live with chronic pain, you're going to immediately adopt a negative judgment towards it, any kind of treatment, and so what I have found, the way to overcome that is to sell the positive product. No, you're not just baked on your couch all day,
right?
Taking up everybody's tax dollars, as they say, right? No, you're a productive member of society. You drove how long to get here to help somebody else, right? You're able to get out of bed and get yourself dressed and care for your family and do all these things because of this, right? That sells an entirely different story that I don't think the major population always gets.
No. But then at the same time, a lot of the major population sees anybody that is on a regular dose of an opioid as drug addicts all the time too. And that's why, like when you mentioned earlier the word stigma, I don't give a shit. I don't give a shit. I don't care what people think about me. I don't. So there's stigma of me saying that I go to a pain doctor. There's stigma when I tell people how much opioids I take on a daily basis. They're shocked.
Yeah.
The nurse that came out to the house on Monday, when I told her, she was like, "Whoa!" I go, "I know. I don't like
compared to nothing, sure."
Yeah, right. I go, I don't like it any better than you do, right? And so when some people hear the idea of lettuce or the idea of ketamine even or the idea of kratom even, it's immediate negative. Y'all, we're fighting that stigma already.
Hmm.
And it's not like I'm giving into the stigma. It's completely different. It's the I don't care.
Yeah.
I don't
Well,
care. I have a life to live. And if this helps me, guess what? You can go take a hike, man.
it is what it is.
Maybe that's the liberal libertarian that's in me, because just leave me alone. You go do whatever you do, boo, to help you get better.
Yeah.
And that's why I tell people, I don't care. I saw a tweet yesterday or the day before. Somebody said she was talking about how opioids are the gold standard. Only thing you should ask for,
Mhm.
right? And she went and she said, I don't care if goat yoga helps you. I don't care if ketamine helps you because you need to be on this. I do care
Yeah.
if goat yoga helps you. Because if it helps for you, I tell you what, there's going to be some rich goats because I'm going to be slinging tips to them. If I can stop taking opioids, I mean, I'm going to be throwing cash at these goats because now I don't have to take opioids anymore. Hell yeah, man.
Hmm.
Or if this helped you, I
Yeah.
don't understand how that helped you, but if it's helping you, I'm going to try that too. Because I just want people to be better. I don't
Yeah.
care if it's weed, if it's opioids, or kratom, or I don't care. Get better. And
Get better.
that's really all it is.
Yeah.
And if I can get better with less of the opioids, that's where I'm at, So, um, you guys want to do victories real quick? Cause it's already after 8:00.
Do it.
So, you got anything you want to share tonight, y'all? Did you get a shower this week? Did you find your car keys? Did you do laundry? Did you walk the dog? Did you see your grandkids over the week? Anything. Because we all know that as invisibles, our definitions of victories are not anything like typical society. We are always grateful for the little things. Got a shower the other day. They cut 6 inches off my hair today. That's a victory for me, finally. And I'm down to 4 pills versus 5.
Woohoo.
And that has been such a big mental thing for me for
Yeah.
the past year, is getting down on what I take. So if you have any wins, any victories or anything like that, please start typing them in because we all need to share, because a lot of us haven't had a victory lately, and we get to live through your victories. Your victories give us hope that we're going to have a victory here soon. So if I miss, I'm going to try to read them all. If I miss you, keep typing until I read it. Valerie said she had IVIG at home, which is such a blessing and a godsend. That is massive right there. What else? Tracy said, I went to my son's wedding and honestly didn't think I'd make it, but you did, and you made the memories. That's what's so awesome. Kate, best lab work I've had in a year. I may be stabilizing and vacation in T-5 days. I'm telling y'all, next Thursday is going to be lit for that live. It's going to be interesting. Jamie says, I saw my unicorn doctor yesterday and he's going to hook me up with peptides. Wow. There you go. That is good too. What else we got? Am I missing anything? Happy days. I'm not seeing any more victories, but somebody said, does Suboxone help with neuropathy? I'll get that one in there real quick.
All right. I put my answer in.
Oh, you did? Okay.
It might help, yes, but it's not the first line treatment by any stretch.
Gotcha. I like Kate.
You like that answer?
I like that. And I like what Kate had to say too. Goat, puppies, whatever gets the endorphins going. Exactly. Susan made it tonight. And I noticed that. I'm so glad that you were here. Bozo, I lost 15 pounds with medicine this last 2 months.
Dang.
That's a big drop. I hope that was an intentional, that you wanted to.
He had a smiley face on there. I think
Okay.
that's a good
All
thing.
right.
Yeah.
Judy, godmother Judy, made it to the gym and 2 doctor's appointments in 2 days, and I'm still walking, sorta. Well, sorta is better than not walking, right? So
That's true.
there you go.
We sort of went to the moon last year. Or was that this year? That was this year.
That was
yeah.
this year.
A couple months ago, we sort of went to the moon.
Kind of.
And that's pretty cool, too.
Yeah, it is. Do you have any parting shots, parting words of wisdom from Dr. Dustin for tonight?
Yeah, I think your doctor is trained to see through you. And if you're coming in with an agenda that you're trying to veil, it may go against you. So just be forthright, be honest. Yes, you can speak in hypotheticals because it's sarcastically transparent. But, at the end of the day, the main thing that matters with your pain physician is the relationship you have with them. And that's built on trust and honesty and transparency. And it's with that you can navigate the very confusing world of pain management. And that's what it comes down to.
It goes back to that since our very first time that we sat down to talk, it comes back to communication, I feel.
Yeah.
What can we do to have a better communication? What can we do so when you see my chart hanging in the hall, it's not just what the hell is he here for? It's not, oh God, I got another back patient. I don't want to do it. I'm talking, it's Keith. It's like, oh my God, if he's actually here, something's wrong. Right. And I know it takes forever to get to where we can be open and honest in a lot of different things. But when we can get there, I think that's the key to better care overall. So does anybody else have any last minute questions? If not, I'm going to need to get off of here so I can get meds in me, and because I've got 2 hours till I get back to the house. So I want to say thank you very much, Dr. Dustin, for being here tonight. I know it's kind of short notice, but we do appreciate it. The people that made it tonight appreciated it. Thank you for the education on Suboxone tonight, because I definitely needed that, and I learned a lot. And I hope you guys got some information out on talking to your doc about getting your med card. Is it right for you? Do the research. Feel your doctor out before you go in and say, "Hey, I'm going to start smoking weed." Don't go that route, please. Message me. We can talk. If you need me, my email is the best way to find me. Keith, cpp@gmail.com. I am still 99 plus on messages in my inbox on TikTok. So I'm really slow and behind on it again, even though I thought I got caught up. If you can't find me, reach out to Amy. You guys all know Amy R. Reach out to Lugnut. Reach out to Jamie. Reach out to Kate. Reach out to Jennifer. They'll find me. If you have WhatsApp and you have my cell phone number, that's the best way to find me, other than email. Other than that, I want to say thank you again. Kevin, thank you for being here tonight. We appreciate you. And you guys have a great day. And I hope tomorrow really is a better day. And other than that, we'll see you soon. Peace.